Welcome to NIBM Global webinar. Today we are going to speak about game theory. Now, what is a game theory? This is one of the most applied methodologies that is being or spoken about theory in economics. So to understand a game theory, normally a game theory works in what is called an oligopoly market. We need to understand what an oligopoly market is. An oligopoly market, simply put, is a market which has a lot of concentration ratio. Now, what is concentration ratio? You're talking about the concentration of business. Like, for example, it's a market wherein, say, 3 to 4 major players are holding the majority of market share. Like, for example, top 1, 2, 3 players are holding 60% of the total market share. You call it an oligopoly. Now, what is the peculiarity of this? Each of these 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C players are very huge, which means that they have a power over the market. They can influence the market, or rather they can influence the competitors. So when you go about working in an oligopoly, you are not only concerned about what is happening in the market, you are also equally concerned about what is it that your competitor is doing. Now, this is where game theory comes into play. And game, as the name goes, has its own rules, has its own, regulations, and its own yeses and nos. And so on and so forth. Now, for example, this game theory typically is being explained by what is called the prisoner's dilemma. You have on screen a particular graph. Okay, so I'll tell you the situation. There are two robbers who has been caught alleged of making a bank robbery. Now, what is the police doing? The police is putting 2 separate cells and they are putting them into that, and they are being questioned simultaneously. So one prisoner has no idea on what the other prisoner might be answering. So they have 2 options. They can either confess or they cannot confess. They will not confess. So this is what they have. So for example, if you're saying the outcomes of the games are like this. Now, if both of these people are confessing, which means that both of them are accepting that, yes, I have done the mistake, it means they'll get a sentence of 2 years each in the jail. Now, if one person is confessing and the other person is not confessing, this means that the person who is confessing will be let free. He'll not be caught at all. He'll not have to serve any period in the jail at all, while the person who has not confessed will have to spend 3 years in the jail. And if there is a situation wherein both of these people are not confessing, it will mean that both of these people will get a sentence of 1 year each. Now, I guess you know what the outcomes are. This is what the 4 quadrants are saying. Say, for example, in the first quadrant, you're saying the first player is confessing, second player is also confessing. In the second quadrant, you're saying the first player is confessing, the second player is not confessing. And in the third quadrant, you're saying both the players are not confessing. And there is the fourth quadrant which says the first player is not confessing while your second player is confessing. And you have the outcomes in front of you in this particular screen. Now, what is the way to go about? If you have been in the situation of one of those prisoners, what is it that, what would have been the decision that you have taken? Would you have confessed? Would you have not confessed? Let's look at each of the quadrants. Imagine if you are player A. If you had confessed, so if you had confessed, at the same point, if the other person has also confessed, it means that you are getting a 2-year sentence each. That is fair enough. 2 years is fine. But let's go forward and try to see what will happen. And if you had decided not to confess, at the same time, the other player has decided that he is going to confess, which means that you are getting 3 years of sentence, which is not the ideal situation, because that is the worst punishment that you can get in this. It's from a stretch of 0 to 3 years. So what I am trying to tell you is there is always what is called a dominant strategy. So here the dominant strategy is to confess. whether you like it or not, it is best to confess, because 2 years is what is the maximum that you will get as a death sentence if you're confessing. Unlike that, the worst case scenario in a situation where you are not confessing is you can be jailed up to 3 years. So this is what we call a dominant strategy is. Now, what is the peculiarity of this? The peculiarity of this is, or what it tries to bring out to you, is the fact that, your actions or your outcomes are being affected by your competitor's action. Now, let's take this into a business scenario. Like, for example, you have two very close competitors playing in an oligopoly market. Imagine if you were increasing your advertisement cost. You are likely to get more customers into it. But the problem there is, you also have to look at what is it that your competitor will is likely to do. What is the way in which he is going to respond to this act of yours of trying to, increase the advertisement cost, or even increase the price of product, or say you and your competitor are selling at the same prices. Now, imagine in need of increasing your demand or sale, you're deciding that I'm going to cut down the prices, and if prices have cut down, if these are close competitors, definitely you're going to get more customers. But the problem there is, how will your competitor respond to this? Will he also give a price cut? If that happens, the status quo will continue in terms of demand, which means that both of you are having the same number of customers. But the problem there is, since you have cut the price, your revenues are coming down. So this is what you're saying. Game theory is fundamentally about strategic thinking. You need to look at what is it that your competitor is going to do, or how would his action have an impact on us, and based on that you're saying, okay, if this is what is going to be the dominant strategy, whatever he does, this is the worst case scenario that can happen to me, and that's how you take a decision in game theory.